Hello everyone, Soulsborne here. Once again, doing another tier list for Dark Souls 3 this time. It includes all of the bosses, I believe. I think it includes the DLC bosses as well. Yeah, GAEL's there. I don't see Sister Friede though. Yeah, there she is. Okay. So, these are all the bosses in Dark Souls 3. I've been playing quite a lot of Dark Souls 3 recently, all over at the YouTube channel. Check it out sometime. We're doing a dex build. But first off, Abyss Watchers. The Abyss Watchers is in the swamp zone of the game. That zone ain't very fun, to be honest. You gotta go light three torches to go fight the Abyss Watchers. And the Abyss Watchers it's a homage to Ocerios of the Abyss. They warp as a knight to destroy the Abyss, and of course they couldn't stop the Abyss because the Abyss is the Abyss. The fight is really awesome. It's probably I would say the first boss in Dark Souls 3 where I'm like, oh shit. Not that it's kind of difficult. It's not like the most hard boss. It's a duo fight, I believe. No, isn't it a trio fight? Okay, so I looked it up and wants to fight again, and it's a trio fight, but one of them attacks anything that's in front of them. So it can be a duo fight or it can be a trio fight. It appears to just be RNG there, but it's a really cool fight. They got cone-shaped heads. The Abyss Watchers. I would say this is an A-tier fight. This is a very enjoyable fight. I found it challenging because I wasn't very good at the game. And the Abyss Watchers are just super fucking cool. I don't get how you could put this at anything less than an A-tier. Dark Souls 3 bosses will probably generally be in like A, B, and S. Just like, there's not really any bosses that are, I would say, D tier or F tier. Well, I mean, no there is, but we'll get to those later. Up next is my favorite god getting eaten by one of the souls of Cinder, Aldrich, who's eating Gwendolyn, which is a boss from Dark Souls 1. Very weird. Very, very weird. This boss, I don't like this boss. It is one of my favorite bosses, though. I know that makes no sense, but just hear me out here. I feel like this is Gwendolyn's boss, but better designed. There's one move on the Aldrich that I particularly don't like, and I talked about it in my favorite bosses in Soulsborne. And I think that move is bullshit. Yeah, I do. But that aside, Aldrich is in Orlando because he was eating Gwendolyn. Maybe when he was sick, he was gonna die. I think he was actually dead, and he was eating him. And then you come there midway through when he's eating him. It's so fucking weird. But this boss, it can be kind of hard. I found it harder than probably some of the other bosses. Quite a few of some of the others. I don't know if it was just a skill issue or something, but I'd say Aldrich is definitely B tier. There's not a chance I'd put him at anything higher. But he's one of my favorites because of the wacky, because he's eating him. Yeah, that summarizes that. Up next is the worst boss in the fucking game, Ancient Wyvern. Where the fuck is he? This piece of shit right here. Fuck this boss. This is probably the most controversial boss in Dark Souls 3. I would hardly call it a boss because the entire gimmick of the boss fight is to run through his zone, little zone, and then you're supposed to plunge attack his head, but the hitbox is fucked up, so you can miss. And I missed my first time, and I was really fucking pissed off. But it was also really funny at the same time. So I was like mad and angry at the same time. It was really goofy. I don't think D tier is proper for this boss. This boss is F tier, but I'll put it in D tier nonetheless. Ancient Wyvern, really cool dragon fight. You can fight him without doing the plunging attack, but why would you do that? That's just, I mean, if you want to show your dominance against the dragons, go right ahead, but you've just been wasting like fucking 60 minutes, maybe like 3 hours fighting this motherfucker. Not even because it's hard, but because he has so much health, and the plunging attack like one-shots him. But yeah, Ancient Wyvern sucks, and I don't think that's a hot take at all. Everyone hates Ancient Wyvern. So yeah, I looked it up for Ancient Wyvern, and I saw a dude do a no-hit run. He was hitting that motherfucker for 8 minutes straight. 8 fucking minutes. Fuck that, man. That boss is terrible. But anyways, moving on to a better boss. Champion Gundyr. This guy is the first boss you see in the game, and he sure seemed to have stopped a lot of people from playing Dark Souls 3. He's a pretty cool boss. He was going to become one of the Souls of Cinders, I believe, but like something fucking happened. There was like no maiden waiting at the Firelink Shrine, so it just like didn't happen. Then he like succumbed to the Abyss. Interesting how that worked, but his moveset's pretty simple, really. You fight him twice, except the second time he'll fuck you up a whole lot harder than he does there. It adds some moves to his moveset. He doesn't even get the Abyss part in his second phase, in the second fight, which makes it harder. Which, when you think it won't, but the Abyss is pretty easy to evade, really. Its attacks are very well choreographed. Well, so are the regular attacks, but he's just so aggressive. And this dude definitely would have become Lord of Cinder if it weren't for their maidens being there. I'd say he's B tier. I would say he's probably above the twink getting eaten alive, but yeah, for Champion Gundyr, he's a pretty cool boss. I can spend a lot more time on these bosses now that I'm not doing an Elden Ring tier list, because it's not going to like fucking 130 bosses, and I'm very familiar with a lot of these bosses, even though I haven't fought them as much as I have in Elden Ring. But moving on to the next boss, Crystal Sage. Is that Crystal Sage? So Crystal Sage is a boss that you see in the third zone of the game, I believe. Its entire gimmick is duplicating itself, and it throws a whole bunch of magic at you, and it teleports away. There's nothing really to say about this boss. It's just okay. I wouldn't say it's bad or good. It's just a regular boss. Honestly, you fight these later as like a mini boss throughout the way further in the game. I think you fight like 3 times. Not really that great. It's just alright. But that's all I have to say for that one. Up next is everyone's favorite optional boss, the Ridden Greatwood. I think that's what it's called. Gimmick boss. You hit ball sacks on its legs, and that's about it. There's a couple of add-on enemies in the arena beforehand. You should kill those before walking into like the corner of it, because that's when the boss shows up. The boss really isn't very hard at all. This is probably the easiest boss in the game, easily. But midway through the fight, I think as soon as you give him like 60-50 health, the floor drops and you're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna die. But no, you're fine. And that's all there is to say about that boss. I wouldn't say it's D tier though, because Wyvern is just so fucking bad. This boss isn't even like that awful. It's just that's a mandatory boss, I think. Yeah, it is, because you gotta do that to go fight Nameless King. So like I immediately think this one is better because it's optional. You don't have to fight it. Crystal Sage is mandatory though. All of these are mandatory. Wyvern's just shit, man. Up next is one of my favorite bosses, Dancer of the Boreal Valley. So here's Dancer of the Boreal Valley. I talked about this boss on one of my favorite bosses in Soulsborne. This boss has the most fucking crazy move. where she just swings her two swords back and forth, and it makes you go, oh fuck, and you just freak out. It's a really cool boss. I really like Dancer of the Boreal Valley. Way better than Vordt. The Dancer was a dancer for Pontiff. This guy. Dancer is a really cool boss. Pretty difficult too. I think you could sequence break to fight this boss instead of fighting Vordt or something, or you fight Vordt and then you can fight Dancer. I don't remember exactly, but Dancer of the Boreal Valley is A tier, I'd say. Really good boss. The zone that comes afterwards, though, I don't particularly like. Up next, try and guess. A gimmick fight. Deacons of the Deep. This boss right here it's pretty wacky. Dudes in robes. And they all heal the guy who's red, and you're supposed to kill him. It's a laughably easy boss fight. Probably easier than the Greatwood. This boss, I'm pretty sure, is mandatory. I don't think this boss is optional, but I could be wrong about that. This boss, they were worshipping Aldrich, and Aldrich left to go eat Gwendolyn, I guess, but it's pretty weird. This boss is not very special, honestly. I wouldn't put it with Wyvern, because Wyvern is just like a new level of bad. Another C tier boss. Not really anything that cool. Up next is Dragonslayer Armour. This is like a dollar store Ornstein with a shield. That's slander right there, but Dragonslayer Armour, his boss fight is pretty far into the game. I think it's after Dancer of the Boreal Valley. Yeah, it is. It has like these chaos things and like the air that comes down and helps it midway through the boss fight. He's pretty, not that challenging. Pretty easy. I didn't have too much trouble with him, but he is kind of like the Pursuer from Dark Souls 2. Kind of. Except I would say this one's actually creative. But Dragonslayer Armour, he's alright. I don't know if I put him at B or C. Probably low B. Dragonslayer Armour, his design is really cool. You fight him again in the DLC, just as a mini-boss. Alright. Up next is another controversial gimmick fight. High Wolf Wyvern? What the fuck was his name? I don't remember. The skeleton motherfucker. This guy, he's another gimmick fight. Believe it or not, but this guy, you fight him really pretty far into the game. A lot of these are end-game bosses. But this skeleton guy, the design is really cool, but a lot of people despise this boss because they had so much trouble with it, because he has this move that instantly kills you. The smoke that he emits, and he has like these add-on skeletons that try and hit you. I didn't have this problem because I used a greatsword and I killed him in 3 shots because I hit his bracelets. Wasn't a hard boss fight. Was laughably easy. Wouldn't even bother doing it again. I wouldn't even say this boss is bad. It's just super easy, but I guess for some people they had a really hard time with it. I didn't have a hard time with it at all. This boss is low D tier. I would say it's probably better than Wyvern. Wyvern's just fucking terrible. Okay. Up next is Iudex Gundyr, which, upon realizing this is the first time you fight him, this instance is the second time you fight him. Champion Gundyr is the Chad version. Iudex Gundyr is the beta version, of course, but where the hell is he? This boss, I already talked about him thoroughly. I would say this one's probably C tier. Very basic, but the revamp that they did for him in like this area where it's Firelink Shrine again, that one is really cool, but that one's just alright. Up next is Lothric, Younger Prince, I believe that's his name, this guy. The twin princes, Lorian and Lothric. I really like this boss. This boss is awesome. This might be the first S tier, honestly. I know that there's some people who dislike this boss. I don't care. This boss is awesome. I love this boss. It's really cool. The teleporting thing that they do, the whole thing where you have to hit them both, you have to kill them both at the same time or it respawns them, was a really cool well, I think if you kill the younger brother, well, I don't know. I've never seen what happened if you kill the younger brother, the one on his back first. Does the other one keep on fighting you? I believe so. But this boss is really cool. Took me quite a few attempts to beat this boss. I really like this boss. This boss is cool. I love the moveset, the whole teleporting thing. I like how the camera stays on, because if it didn't, that'd be rough. But I think I talked about this in my favorite bosses too as well. Good boss. Next is not a boss. Up next is the fucking boss. Nameless King, baby. This boss fucks. He will fuck you up. This boss is an endgame boss. He is Gwyn's younger son. Well, oldest son, I believe. Yeah, oldest son. And he's the whole king that you hear about in the first game. You're like, who is this guy? And people thought he was Solaire. No, it's fucking Nameless King. You already know. You know it. I know it. We all know it. S tier. Easily. Nameless King. He will do catastrophic damage. Even at end game, you can have like 50 figure and he will hit like he can like two-shot you. This man is extremely punishing. It's a two-phase boss fight. One for the first phase, he's on a dragon, and you have to avoid the dragon's attacks, the lightning attacks from Nameless King at the same time. But that's the easy part. No. That part ain't a challenge. The second, when he gets off the dragon and he infuses his little sword into the dragon. Well, I want to say little, that sword's big as fuck, but he fucking starts teleporting around. Not really teleporting, but going really fast all around, and he will fuck you up. Nameless King is really aggressive. This boss is probably my favorite main game boss, excluding DLC. I literally love Soul Cinder, but Nameless King is just so fucking awesome. I love Nameless King. Great boss. Up next is an optional boss, Ocerios. I think I said that completely fucking wrong. Ocerios? I don't know how to fucking say this. The Consumed King. Originally, I heard there was supposed to be a baby there, but they made it invisible in the final release of the game. This boss, I beat it first try really easily. Great sword, but for the win. But some people say this is like one of the hardest bosses in the game, and I can see how, because it has this combo to where it like kind of like the Revenant from Elden Ring, I think. I didn't see it when I first fought it, but this boss is pretty cool. I'd say he's high B tier. His moveset is really cool. He has two phases. After the second phases, I think the baby disappears and he like gets fucking all pissed off and shit. Optional boss fights. He's really cool. Really cool design. Surprised that this is optional, honestly. He's a pretty cool boss. Up next is the Torturous Demon, or the Silent Demon, I don't know if I remember. This guy, right here. That's the Torturous Demon from Dark Souls 1, but fire. Optional boss fight, not even roar fighting really. He has a whole lot of health. This boss is just really annoying, honestly. His boss fight, it's in one of the worst zones in the game, easily. That zone sucks. There's a giant ballista that shoots at you. You can deactivate it. Apparently you can use it to kill like this worm enemy outside the building. But this boss, his moveset is pretty simple. Very well choreographed moves. The most annoying thing about him is his giant AoE move and his massive health pool, which I don't particularly like massive health pools, and you'll hear all about that later. But I would say this is, I don't know, it's probably like close to C or D. I would say this is like a D+ boss. Not really that great of a boss. Up next is the boss that you see in Iudex, which is one of my favorite zones in Dark Souls 3. This boss was originally, at some point in the game, the final boss. The title theme was his boss theme. This guy took over Iudex or Norlando, and like Gwendolyn's half-sister or whatever. You meet her later, but he was controlling this city, and he made himself Pontiff. Kind of based. This boss is really kind of hard, honestly. He has those fuck you up moves. He summons two. He summons another one of himself, and now you're fighting a duo fight. This boss he's a pretty cool guy, but he's also an asshole. He has his two knights, Vordt and the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. This boss, he's alright. The zone afterwards is cool, but Pontiff, I would say he's probably a B tier boss. I think I did Enforcers down. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, B tier. That might upset some people, but the reason why I put him at A tier, it's because he's like halfway in the game. Yeah. I didn't particularly find him that hard or difficult. I didn't find the fight that enjoyable either. I'm glad that he wasn't the final boss, but he's not a bad boss by any regard. It's just that it didn't really click with me that much as the other bosses in the game. Up next is the final boss of the game, and I got some flack from this from when I listed my favorite bosses, or the top 10 best bosses. I put Soul of Cinder instead of GAEL on the list, and that pissed that one guy off, but Soul of Cinder is an objectively amazing boss fight. S tier boss fight. If you didn't know already, Soul of Cinder is all of the souls of the previous Lords of Cinders, and I don't know what the other what three of them are. Some people think it's Solaire, but I'm like, nah. But the second phase, which is the fourth Lord of Cinder, is Gwyn. The indication for that is pulling out his sword and the Plin Plim Pong. It was a really cool callback, and it's a beautiful way to wrap up the series of Dark Souls. And this boss will be forever immortalized as either my second favorite or favorite boss fight in the game. I don't know really what to choose between Nameless King, Soul Cinder, and Yhorn and Lothric. And in the base game, at least. Nameless King is a really amazing boss fight. There's just so much to his moveset. I don't know why some people dislike him. I think it's because of the callback to Gwyn or something. I don't know, it's weird to me. But I really like Soul Cinder, great boss. Be a little weird naming the final boss and then doing like the second boss you fight, but Vordt of the Boreal Valley. Vordt is tier. I would say he's probably almost A tier. And I think I might put Pontiff at E tier now, or at E tier. Vordt, the memes of him, his song has became such a massive meme, and the whole chess meme, that was great. But putting that aside, the boss fight, it's really easy. I played it on stream not too long ago, and I beat him first try very easily. I haven't played Dark Souls 3 in a little bit, and I didn't find him very challenging. He's a cool boss, so I like his design with him. His moves are pretty crazy. He has his charge move that he does, but very easily dodgeable swings. Like, I don't get how you get hit by his swings. They're so easy to avoid. It's just weird to me. I don't know, maybe I'm just like used to all the Elden Ring's delayed attacks. That to where a point I can just read these really quick attacks now. It's weird, but he's a cool boss. Not A tier quality though. This video is starting to drag on, so we better hurry. So we better start to hurry up. Yhorn the Giant. This is a gimmick boss fight. I would say he's C tier. Yhorn, you use the Storm GAEL to fight him. You have to run all the way up to it. In Elden Ring, the gimmick boss fight, Rykard, it's right at the beginning. His is at like the far end of it. The lore behind this guy is really tragic. The boss fight is laughably easy if you use the sword, but if you don't, you're gonna have a bad time. That's about it for him. And now moving on to the DLC bosses. This is where shit gets wacky. Okay, so this is the wolf boss that you fight in the Ashes of Ariandel DLC. This boss sucks. I would say this is probably D tier. This boss is not very good. I don't know if they like had some unused assets from like regular enemies, but they just threw that together, and it's 3 wolves and 1 guy, and then after you kill like the 3 wolves, I don't remember the guy too as well. I think the wolf shows up. joke fight, not very good. Sister Friede up next. This boss fight is widely regarded as one of the best boss fights in Dark Souls in the DLC, obviously. Sister Friede, I think it's really overrated, honestly. I didn't particularly like this fight. It's a duo boss fight in the second phase. It's a 3-phase boss fight. The first phase is with Sister Friede. She copies the furry dragon thing, whatever the hell it was, from Dark Souls 1, to where she disappears and then she fucking backstabs you. Wasn't a good time. I did not particularly like that. It was pretty awful, even. I could not get a read on it. I don't know if it's just a skill issue. Inform me in the comments. But I just cannot dodge that attack. It really pissed me off. The second phase. Besides that, the first phase was easy. The second phase, you fight her dad with her, and it's a duo boss fight. I will admit that it's a good duo fight compared to other duo fights that I've seen. But it's pretty easy. She has long range attacks, he has close range attacks. You can tell that this boss fight was designed around a duo fight, unlike some other fights. But that's From Software has done. But this is a really good duo fight. Then the third phase, I felt was just like kind of unnecessary. She reawakens again, and now she has like black flame and shit. She goes pretty crazy. She killed me a few times in that third phase, honestly. I find the second phase really easy. The first phase I died a couple times. The second phase, I don't think I died to the second phase at all. Third phase killed me quite a lot of times. This boss, I won't say it's bad or anything. It's not like I'm gonna put a fucking D tier or C tier, D tier, but I don't think it's A tier. I really don't. I think it's. I think Sister Friede is like right there in A tier. But Sister Friede, I think, deserves a whole lot more respect than the other DLC bosses. Well, except for that guy. But moving on to this boss, I don't even remember what this boss is. What the hell even is this? Oh yeah, the twin demons. You fight this guy with GAEL if you want to. This boss sucks. People think this is a really good boss fight. Demon in Pain and Demon in Below. I think this boss fight sucks. Honestly, I think it's terrible. It's a duo boss fight where you kill one, the other one powers up. It's like they tried to recreate the magic between Ornstein and Smell with the demons. Not a very cool boss fight. I didn't find it very fun. They just have so much health. It is just annoying, which is a common thing in the DLC, by the way. Not much to say about that boss. Honestly, I'd consider putting it at D tier. People like that boss too. It's really confusing. I'd love to see someone explain their point. Maybe I'll reconsider. But this boss right here, gimmick fight. Lots of gimmick fights. This boss, if you're playing alone, it summons one random guy and you fight him. And there's like one of those adjudicators, which is one of the most iconic moments in DLC when you first enter the Ring City. Like all those arrows shoot you. But this boss, it summons one random NPC, I believe. If you're playing online. If you're playing offline, it has this healer and then the guy, a preset guy. You want to kill the healer first and then the guy, because then it can get really bad. But this boss, I would say it's alright. I like the idea. I think they did it better in Elden Ring. It's alright. MIDIR. Oh boy. Oh fucking boy. I fucking hate MIDIR. I fucking hate MIDIR so fucking much. God, I fucking hate MIDIR. Oh, I hate MIDIR. So, if you couldn't tell already, I don't like MIDIR. And a lot of people love MIDIR. They think it's one of the best boss fights in the game. MIDIR has a fucking ridiculous health pool. Malenia from Elden Ring has a higher health pool than him, but it doesn't feel that way. It really doesn't feel that way at all. MIDIR, his moveset is just annoying. Like, I just found it really annoying. He just fucking charges back and forth. He has this like giant laser death move, which in Elden Ring, you got Dragonlord Basilisks does that move. I thought that was cooler in Elden Ring, but MIDIR has so much health and like fucking ridiculous ass amount of poison. And people say, oh, it's for the lore reasons. It's an ancient god dragon, so it's supposed to be really fucking strong. And it's like, well, at what point does lore trump gameplay? It just seems ridiculous to me. But I don't think the boss is really that bad. I just think the health and like the annoying moveset really sets it back. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I think he's C tier. I won't give him B tier. So like I can respect him at least a little bit more than these. These bosses suck. These bosses are terrible. MIDIR, I think he's C tier. Maybe I'd reconsider putting it at B tier. I haven't fought MIDIR in a while, but when I did fight him, I don't think I ever wanted to fight him again. It's a chore to fight MIDIR. A fucking chore. Slave Knight GAEL. Two nobodies fighting at the end of the world over nothing. Well, he's fighting it for the Dark Soul. Slave Knight GAEL is the best boss fight I've probably ever seen from Software. Slave Knight GAEL, easily. S tier. Slave Knight GAEL is such a wonderful boss fight, because he's just a nobody, he's just a slave. I didn't put him on my list, and it pissed one guy off. That's because I put a joke in the top 10 list, joke Dark Souls 2 boss. That's where GAEL was supposed to be. But GAEL is an amazing boss fight. His moves, he goes through like 3-4 phases, I think. The music is so amazing. Like, I listen to Slave Knight GAEL's music pretty often. It's such a good track. The boss fight is amazing. It's challenging and really fun to fight. Like I really like boss fights that are challenging and fun at the same time. Like, I'm not gonna have fun with a boss that's just killing me over and over and over, and I don't feel like it's earned. I feel like every death was earned with GAEL. But GAEL is such an amazing fight. I can't talk good enough about how good GAEL is. GAEL simps, I'm one of them. People call this boss overrated, and I don't think so at all. I think GAEL is... I put him in triple S. GAEL, amazing boss fight. That's my list. Tell me what you think. Do you disagree? Do you agree? Leave with your... I hope I didn't piss more people off. That's my take. Maybe might be some hot takes, especially MIDIR, and maybe even the Demon of Pain and Demon of Blow, but that's my list. Thanks for watching. Don't go hollow out there.